Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about this amazing book by Steven Pinker called The Language Instinct. Oh, spoiler alert, this video is mostly going to be me just nerding out about linguistics, which is the study of language, of course, because that's what I studied and I really love it, so I hope you feel the passion through the video, okay? Of course, there will be no spoilers because this is nonfiction, so I've got nothing to spoil. And I'm going to do three things today, okay? I want to tell you something more about the author. I want to introduce the topic, and then I'll talk about the book. First of all, I want to tell you about Steven Pinker, the author of this book. He is a very famous Canadian psychologist, psycholinguist, and also author. He's an advocate of the computational theory of mind, meaning that he believes that our brains are like information processing systems, something like computers. And also he's an advocate of the evolutionary psychology, which is a theory that argues that human behavior is the output of psychological adaptations that evolved to solve some recurrent problems in the ancestral environments. Did I just learn that definition for this video? I totally did. But basically, evolutionary psychology is kind of like, it argues that we, over time, we have adapted our behavior based on what didn't work. Okay, that's basically what I said. I'm not even sure I understood myself with that definition. Pinker is a big fan of Noam Chomsky, who you have probably heard of because he's one of the most famous linguists of all time. And he even came up with his own theory. I mean, he came up with a lot of theories, but this one in particular is very important for this book, and that is universal grammar. Okay, so I first want to tell you that there are different theories about language acquisition. So language acquisition is basically the way we acquire language, right? And different people have said different things, and there are different theories, but Chomsky said that we have this device called universal grammar somewhere like in our brains, right? Of course, it's not tangible. You can't really see it, or if you do an MRI, you can't find this universal grammar. Like nobody has seen it, but it is there, and it means that you have something innate that helps you acquire grammar and other things related to language. So you don't learn it. It is just there, and you speak a language because you have this natural ability. So yes, other theories argue that we learn a language, and if you ask me, I'm not really sure what I would say. Like, I think it's a mix of everything, of the influences of our environment and also our but maybe there is something there that helps us acquire language. But anyway, it doesn't matter what I think right now. If you want a separate video on that, I'll do it. So in this book Pinker gives many examples why he believes that we naturally acquire language. Like, for example, your parents teach you vocabulary. They tell you, like, oh, this is a phone. Well, maybe they tell you a different thing. Like, this is a duck or something. And, but they never teach you grammar, right? And despite that, you still pick it up. Like, you just pick it up because you're naturally predisposed to say it right. What I love about this book is that there are a lot of real world and literature examples. So, for example, he mentions Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass, and I'm going to read it out to you to see if you understand something. And as in uffish the thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with his head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh, Callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. As Alice said, somehow it seems to fill my head with ideas, only I don't know exactly what they are, and that's exactly what it is. Like, it doesn't make sense, but Steven Pinker says that you kind of understand what happens in this poem. Like, you know that it is grammatical, and it sounds grammatical, right? And almost anyone can answer questions like, what slept? How? Did one thing sleep or several? What kind of ideas were they? And you know that somebody was killed, right? So you kind of understand the grammar of it. And he also compares grammar to the human mind and the human spirit. For example, he says that irregularity in grammar is like the epitome of human eccentricity and quirkiness. And I found this so beautiful and so accurate. He explores a lot of interesting questions that you never think of, right? Like, do you ever ask yourself, can thoughts be words? Um, he concludes that they can't because of ambiguity, and he gives a lot of examples. Like, there are like real headlines that he talks about, and one of them is child's stool, great for use in garden. And he says that, of course, it's funny because stool, right? But anyway, he says that the thought itself is not ambiguous, right? The author or the person who wrote the headline knew what they meant, but the word stool is, and so thoughts can be words. I also love that this book is not just Steven Pinker trying to persuade you that something is true, right? That language is innate. Like, you sometimes even forget about it because it's just so, you forget that that's what he's trying to do because that's what he's trying to prove, right? But still, you forget about it because it's just so interesting, okay? He compares other languages to English, which I love. Like, he talks, like, of course, it's like 80% English because that's the native language of the author, but still, he gives a lot of examples from other languages too. For example, he compares English to Japanese, and he says that English is a subject prominent language. In which all sentences must have a subject, right? Even if you don't have a subject, like a real subject, we call it a dummy subject. I'm nerding out again. Like, it is raining, like nobody's raining, but the word it acts as a subject, okay? Whereas in Japanese, so Japanese is a topic prominent language, and sentences have a special position that is filled by the current topic of the conversation. So you could say things like California, comma, climate is good. Or he mentions that English is an SVO language, so subject, verb, object. The sentences, the words in a sentence have to follow that order. You can say dog bites man, but you can't say man dog bites. Well, in other languages you can. Like in Japanese, you could say dog man bites because it's an SOV, subject object verb language. And I find that fascinating. I think that Latin is also an SOV language. Like, I remember being fascinated by the fact that you could put the verb at the end while I was in high school. So yes, very, very, very interesting. And this book is just so funny, man. I didn't expect for it to be so funny. I thought I was gonna read it and be like all serious and all science-y, right? But now it's like And I love it because it just proves how funny and interesting language is, how fascinating it is. There are a lot of, I love the headline examples in this book. There are a lot of them. So, for example, there's one. Yoko Ono will talk about her husband, John Lennon, who was killed in an interview with Barbara Walters. I'm just choosing headlines at random, okay? For sale. Mixing bowl set designed to please a cook with round bottom for efficient beating. So sorry, I don't remember this one being so bad. I just chose it randomly. Let's take a little break. Okay, so yes, very funny, and it's just so much fun to read. There is an issue in the language world that Steven Pinker addresses, and that is very dear to me, and that is people confusing dialects and something being grammatically true. And he mentions Black vernacular English as an example and how people think that talking like that is not grammatically correct. Whereas in reality, Black vernacular English is like perfectly grammatical because it has its own grammar. It follows its own rules. Okay, so that is something that is very important to say. And I know it's only a couple of pages in this book, but I was really glad to see it because it is an issue that I believe that we need to address and work on. There's so much that I could say about this book, but I think you just have to go ahead and order it, read it. It doesn't matter if you agree with Steven Pinker's theory. It's just a beautiful book about language and a great, I would say, introduction to linguistics as well. If you want to start learning about language, you can definitely pick this book up. And I think it's perfectly accessible because I know it sounded like very sciencey, like the way I was talking about it, very dense. It is kind of dense, right? I'm not gonna lie, but still, everything is very well explained that you don't get confused. Like even if it's something really simple, like the way subjects or objects are, right? What role they play in a sentence. He still explains that kind of stuff. Okay, so you're not never left wondering what something is. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please let me know in the comments. And if you want to comment on anything I said, please do, because I'm really interested in this topic. This topic is my whole life. So please let's discuss. And that was it. Hope to see you very soon. Also, if you want more videos like this on language and me just explaining and being very nerdy, let me know. Because I'd love. I could even do like some sort of series on language. Let me know if that's a good idea. I think it might be. So have a good weekend and bye.